a lot of Shakespeare references in Star Trek. And I'm not just talking about, like, Captain Picard endlessly quoting Shakespeare, although he definitely does. But there are even full episodes that take their plot essentially from Shakespeare's plays. And there are a ton of offhand references to it as well. Oh, you like Hamlet? You should hear it in the original Klingon. In fact, did you know that Hamlet has been translated into the Klingon language? Yeah, that's a thing. It's actually the oldest Star Trek shows that have the most references to Shakespeare, particularly the original series and Star Trek Next Generation. In the original series, there are 2 episodes, The Conscience of the King and Cat's Paw, that basically take their plots from Shakespeare's plays Hamlet and Macbeth, respectively. The Conscience of the King, especially, is basically Hamlet in space. 2 of the characters are very, very similar to King Claudius and Ophelia, although there's a twist that I'm not going to spoil. Cat's Paw doesn't take its plot as directly from Macbeth as The Conscience of the King does from Hamlet, but still there are 3 old women that are similar to the witches in Macbeth, and other plot elements that sort of reference it. Other episodes, while not taking their plot from one of Shakespeare's plays, do have titles that are Shakespeare allusions. Things like All Our Yesterdays, Dagger of the Mind, or By Any Other Name. And of course, the movie The Undiscovered Country is a reference to the to be or not to be speech. In Star Trek The Next Generation, Picard frequently quotes Shakespeare and is clearly a big fan, and there are actually scenes from Shakespeare that play out in the show. For instance, there's an episode called The Defector, which begins with Picard and Data putting on a production of Henry V on the holodeck. Data plays King Henry V in the scene where he walks around among the ordinary soldiers. Later, he asks Captain Picard what the point of all of this is, and Picard says, if you want to learn about humanity, one of the best ways to do that is to become familiar with the works of Shakespeare. In Deep Space Nine, there's a scene where Dr. Bashir and Garak discuss the play Julius Caesar. Garak is a Cardassian, a type of alien that features prominently on Deep Space Nine, and his view of Julius Caesar is completely different from Dr. Bashir's. Whereas Dr. Bashir sees the tragedy in the fact that Julius Caesar can't tell his friends are about to assassinate him, Garak is just confused as to why it would be, significant or considered to be quality literature, which gives us a glimpse into the differences between human and Cardassian culture. Deep Space Nine also has several episode titles that reference Shakespeare, like Past Prologue and Once More Into the Breach, for instance. Voyager has fewer Shakespeare references, although the episode Mortal Coil takes its name from, again, the to be or not to be speech. For in that sleep of death what dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. And then in Star Trek Enterprise, which is a prequel taking place before the original series, I thought that the episode Oasis was basically the Tempest in space. Think about it, a father and daughter on this planet that nobody else has access to. The dad is kind of a mad scientist, and the girl is sweet and innocent and longing to see more of the world beyond just the place where she's grown up. And the relationship between her and one of the Enterprise crew members becomes very reminiscent of Miranda and Ferdinand, with the father playing the role of Prospero. And then finally, some of the current shows reference Shakespeare as well. Discovery has several episode titles like What's Past is Prologue and Such Sweet Sorrow that reference Shakespeare plays. Good night, parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Romeo and Juliet. In the final episode of Picard Season 1, Picard quotes The Tempest when he says, "We are such stuff as dreams are made on, our little lives are rounded with a sleep." Even Lower Decks, which is kind of a parody of Star Trek, references Shakespeare pretty often. For example, the episode titled Much Ado About Boimler, the title is obviously an allusion to the play Much Ado About Nothing. And in Crisis Point, Ensign Mariner's holodeck character quotes The Tempest. So from the original series all the way up to the present day, there are so many Shakespeare allusions, both in the titles, in characters quoting Shakespeare, and even in the plots of episodes.